Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Project E46. Now, I didn't intend to make a video on this, but I figured at this point I may as well. Now, as you can see, I've added a big rear wing to the E46. It's one of those wings you can get off eBay. I believe it's a Rocket Bunny style wing. I picked this up used for 40 bucks, painted it black metallic, and fitted it on the car. Though being a cheap fiberglass wing, most likely from China, the fitment is not super great, especially kind of in the middle here. And this issue is exacerbated by the fact that the first time I installed this, I tried to use 3M Automotive adhesive. Now, I've used this stuff before on like small lip spoilers and things like that, but with this big boy wing, I mean, it's like 6 inches tall. It just doesn't really work that well. As you can see, I went for a drive around the block after letting it cure, and going about 40 miles an hour, lifted the whole thing up like this. That's obviously no good, especially once I get this thing up to speed, it would just blow this wing right off. So because the fitment on this wing is not perfect, I'm going to take the tape off and instead do what I should have done in the first place and use 3M Window Weld. So come on and join me on this fun adventure. So first things first, I actually have to remove the spoiler off the car because for the most part this tape is pretty strong and it is still holding it in place. It's just completely lifted out here in the center where the wing doesn't fit perfectly. So let's get the tape off the wing and the wing off the car first. Alright, so the tape is all off the body of the car. You can see just a really good yank with two hands and the wing comes right off, no damage, which is awesome, but it's automotive tape, but obviously not strong enough for a full-on drag wing like this, hence the need for window weld. So now I'm gonna take the rest of the tape off the inside of the spoiler here, and we're gonna prep this thing up for window welding. Okay, so I cut all the old adhesive off the wing, and like I said, there's nothing wrong with the 3M adhesive tape. It's made for moldings and indeed for like small lip spoilers and stuff, it works great. But again, you're just dealing with a piece that's just too big and too ungainly, it doesn't fit perfectly, and that really kind of overpowers the adhesive. So with that off, next step is to prep our surface again. So I have this wax and tar remover. Again, you can do this different ways if you want to. You can sand the surface with some, scuff it up with some sandpaper, or use wax and tar remover or whatever. So put this on the car and clean the wing up too. Okay, so the surface of the trunk is nice and clean. Now I'm going to do a quick wipe down on the inside of the spoiler as well. It's fiberglass, the material can't be cleaned quite as nicely as this trunk obviously, but just kind of wipe it down, get any dirt or grease off. Now this is really an optional step for me because it's nighttime and a bit cold outside. I'm actually going to hit the trunk panel and the inside of the spoiler with a heat gun really quick just to improve adhesive properties. So sit back, relax. So I'm taking the liberty of putting some painter's tape down as reference marks on the spoiler and the trunk, just so I kind of know how to set the spoiler down on the trunk once the adhesive is applied to it. Alright, it's almost time to ruin some cheap body panels. Unfortunately, the caulking gun I bought is really cheap. It doesn't have the kind of a piercing attachment on it, so I'm going to use an Allen key and a dead blow and bust a little hole in this guy. Okay, now fingers crossed this caulking gun actually works pretty well. These cheap ones are so hit and miss, and hopefully this window weld kind of just comes out and is not a total pain in the butt. So time to apply the window weld adhesive to the spoiler. Alright everyone, it's a few days later. Sorry for the dirty car, I've been parked outside, but the spoiler is on. So what I ended up doing is, you might have seen there at the very end, I put brake rotors on top of the spoiler against the trunk. Now normally you don't have to do that because the adhesive is just so strong, but in my case because the fitment on the spoiler was so shoddy, I need something to press down on it really hard to kind of put it properly in place. And again, normally it cleans up pretty well, but gosh, this car is just so dirty right now. But really, actually quite a big fan of this look. I'm gonna start doing a lot more aesthetic upgrades to the E46, so don't think this is the end of things. But the high drag spoiler was just the kind of the first step here. So check it out. And that's all I got for this episode of Project E46. I know, kind of a quick one, kind of just a little side story of some of the things I'm doing with this car, kind of on the side. Normally I wouldn't bother filming a video on, but I figured just because I had this issue with the right adhesive to use for a bigger spoiler like this, I figured I can't be the only one who had those questions, hence the video. So hopefully you found it useful or informative in some way. Please stay tuned because I have a lot more fun things planned for this car. Obviously more drifting, more aesthetic upgrades, and actually some power upgrades as well. So stay tuned for that, and see you guys next time. Bye.